tous les jours pour donc voir cette rétrospective de James Franco en sa présence. Malheureusement, ce soir, c'est notre dernier soir. On ne sait jamais si au futur proche, il souhaiterait revenir. Donc, on va clôturer cette rétrospective avec 127 heures de Danny Boyle. Et on va peut-être faire le débat, on va dire, à l'avance, avant la projection, parce que comme ça va être un peu trop tard. Mais je pense qu'on va revenir dès que la projection termine, mais pas pour très très longtemps, quoi. Parce que ça va être peut-être la fermeture, même pour vous, les métros, etc. Voilà, je vais commencer avec une première question. So, first question, for maybe the people that have seen Bukowski, if maybe you would like to talk about your passion for this project and how come you came about adapting an autobiography of his very early years. Donc, juste... Pardon, peut-être pour ceux qui étaient présents, on a aussi programmé Avant 127 heures, donc Bukowski, qui est un film inédit réalisé par James Franco, et on l'avait aussi programmé le vendredi 23. Donc, pour ça, je me dis peut-être que certaines personnes l'ont vu. Et je me demandais comment ça se fait qu'il a donc voulu poursuivre ce projet, à savoir que c'est le premier film qui dépique l'autobiographie de Charles Bukowski, mais pendant sa période d'enfance et adolescence.
So some of us watched Bukowski earlier today, and it was very interesting for me. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I love the books of Bukowski. I like the poetry of Bukowski. But my favorite Bukowski book is Ham on Rye, which is about his childhood. And in particular, I really, he went through so much. He had this, skin condition. It was so bad, it was almost disfiguring. And when he was young, when people would really make fun of him, and so that must have been so traumatic. He had an abusive father, incredibly abusive father, and went through a lot. But it's in some crazy way, all that stuff that happened to him didn't necessarily turn him into an artist, but it certainly contributed to the artist that he became. He had to work very hard to become a writer, but once he did that, plus all the experiences he went through, made him into the kind of specific kind of writer that he was. So that was very interesting to me. Also, I like in that particular book, Ham on Rye, how he uses his kind of dark humor to tell these very dark stories, so that what in someone else's hands could be, a very tragic, hard to watch story becomes something else. It becomes transformed. It's almost like he takes his power back, because he now is telling it, and he's telling it with humor. So in a way, that he has survived, because he can now talk about it with a kind of humor.
J'ai en fait été extrêmement fan de Bukowski depuis longtemps, mais surtout de son livre Ham on Rye. Et donc, à savoir que j'ai pas vu ce film, donc le film qui a été projeté tout à l'heure, depuis de nombreuses années, donc c'est très intéressant de le revoir. Et en fait, il y avait plein de choses que Bukowski a traversées tout au long de sa vie, que parfois on ne voit pas nécessairement dans le cinéma, dans les films qui ont été photographiés par lui. À savoir, par exemple, qu'il avait une condition de la peau qui était extrêmement sévère pendant son adolescence, très tôt dans sa vie, qu'il a vraiment tourmenté. Et surtout aussi sa relation extrêmement difficile avec son père, qui était très abusif. Et il a dû travailler extrêmement dur tout au long de sa vie pour pouvoir arriver à être un écrivain reconnu. Mais surtout, ce qui était extrêmement important, c'est que tout au long de ses écrits, il a une humour très particulière, une humour noire très particulière. Et en fait, quand un autre écrivain retranscrivait ou bien raconterait une histoire similaire, ça serait peut-être instantanément quelque chose vu comme une énorme tragédie, alors que lui, il arrive à la transformer, à la prendre pour lui, et justement à la détourner avec son humour noir qui est singulière à lui, à son travail. Second question was, how did you find the young actors to play? Because it's always difficult also to direct young actors.
It was a very difficult film to make. It was very fun, but you know, I was such a workaholic, I guess. I needed to, at that time, always be making something. So I think, if I remember correctly, I think I paid personally for this movie, so we didn't have a ton of money, but it's like it's almost like 100 years ago, the time that we're depicting, early 1900s. And so it's very tricky. And then, yeah, working with young actors it's hard sometimes. I think if anything, you know, if I did it again, I think I would work on the script a bit more. You know, we had the rights to Ham on Rye, and then we lost the rights, and so then we were just using a biography. And so I think it could have been a little tighter, a little closer to Bukowski's writing. So if I ever did it again, I would consider that. You know.
Donc, à savoir que ça fait de nombreuses années, je pense que le film a été tourné en 2013. Pardon, When did you...
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Donc, le film a été tourné il y a de très nombreuses années, environ en 2013. Et justement, à cette époque-là, donc James, il travaillait beaucoup. Il était presque accro au travail. Et d'une certaine façon, il a presque même lui-même payé pour financer, donc produire ce film. Et c'est toujours un peu intéressant donc, de travailler avec des jeunes acteurs. Et ce qu'il pense qu'il trouve qui changerait un peu en revisionnant le film, c'est surtout les dialogues. Parce que malheureusement, après avoir eu plusieurs un peu disputes, il n'a pas obtenu tous les droits qu'il voulait pour le livre, donc Ham on Rye. Et donc il s'était plus basé sur d'autres écrits autobiographiques. Et donc un peu en revoyant tous les dialogues, etc., il pense que c'était pas aussi proche qu'il voulait aux écrits de Bukowski. Et donc s'il aimerait vraiment détourner quelque chose ou retravailler quelque chose, ça serait plutôt sur le dialogue, sur le scénario lui-même. And then we're going to go to 127 hours. So for 127 hours, were you already familiar with the story of Aron?
No, so the way that came about, okay, I have a long answer. I'll try to make it simple. So I went back to school after Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. I went back to school, and then I went to graduate school. I was in film school in New York, and then Danny Boyle had this script, and so I went in and I met with Danny Boyle, and he was very cool. And I was in a very experimental time in my life. So he said, I misunderstood him. He said, we're gonna tell the story of Aron Ralston being trapped in the canyon, and we're gonna film part of it at the real location in Utah. I thought he meant that we were gonna go out to the real spot, and I would just stay out there for 5 days. And I didn't think that he would starve me, but that I would just, it would almost be like performance art, and I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that. And he said, no. But I guess there was something about how I was focused on school at the time or something, so he thought I wasn't 100% committed. So he called my agent and was like, I don't think he's 100%, so I think I'm going to look for someone else. Shit. So then, fortunately, my agents kept calling him. He had a couple other meetings, I guess, that didn't go well. So that was good for me. So then my agents was like, please, give him another chance. So then he said, okay, I'll give him one more chance, but he has to come in and now do an audition. Before I didn't have to audition, but now I have to audition. So he said, fly out to LA and audition. So I flew out, drove to the studio, and then he handed me a huge monologue, huge speech, which is in the movie. It's when I'm talking to the video and I'm talking to my family on the video, because I don't know if I'll ever see them again. It was this whole speech. And he's like, here is a speech, go into that office, memorize it, and come back. Well, not long before that, I had gone on to soap opera. Do you have a soap opera here?
Yeah.
Like it's, considered low art. But I had gone on as an artistic project on General Hospital. And the way they filmed that is I filmed 3 consecutive Fridays. They called them Franco Fridays because it was only my scenes on each Friday. So we would go 14 hours filming, only my scenes. So that meant, like a normal film script is, 90 pages to 120 pages for a whole film. I would film 80 to 90 pages in one day on General Hospital, right? So I got very good at memorizing lines, like, okay. All right, go. Okay, next. Go. So I got very good at memorizing lines. So when Danny Boyle handed me this monologue, I went into the other room, and I did it pretty fast. Okay. And I said, okay, I'm ready. He said, really? You ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. And I read it once, and it was sort of like, I told the story about James Dean with the director. It was sort of like that. He said, okay, come here. You can play the part. So that's how I did it. And then, you can tell that in this.
Donc à cette époque-là, quand j'ai eu l'opportunité de pouvoir travailler dans ce film, c'était un moment où j'avais continué à reprendre les études de cinéma. Donc j'étais beaucoup à la fac. Et justement, il était en train de penser peut-être, Danny Boyle en train de dire à ses agents que peut-être qu'il n'est pas assez à point sur ça, peut-être qu'il a d'autres priorités, voilà, et que peut-être qu'il faudrait qu'il cherche ailleurs. Et donc ça ne marchait pas, il voulait beaucoup faire le projet, et donc les agents ont beaucoup continué à essayer de recapturer Danny Boyle et de dire que vraiment il est extrêmement pris par ça. Et simultanément, à savoir que lui, parce qu'il pensait d'origine que peut-être il allait juste partir à Utah pendant 5 jours et genre juste un peu voir, parce qu'ils allaient donc filmer la vraie vie, donc dans les vraies localisations de l'histoire vraie de Aron. Et finalement, il ne savait pas que peut-être Danny Boyle allait le mettre dans des circonstances extrêmement dures physiquement, à savoir de longues semaines là-bas. Et donc aussi, à peu près au même moment, donc il avait un peu, entre guillemets, abandonné l'idée de Danny Boyle. Et il faisait aussi des soap operas, James Franco. Soap operas, je ne sais pas trop comment traduire ça en français, mais d'une certaine façon, c'est comme des séries télévision un peu...
And I don't consider it, no. I respect it. No, I just to make it clear what it was. Yeah. But I respect it.
Donc voilà. Et donc c'est une extrêmement connue, je ne sais pas si vous connaissez General Hospital. Et donc à savoir qu'il tournait simultanément plusieurs vendredis des semaines. Et ces vendredis, on les appelait The Franco Day parce que c'était des journées de 14 heures. Et donc, approximativement, d'habitude, un scénario, il fait environ 90 pages. À savoir que dans ces journées de tournage, donc de 14 heures, il récitait à peu près 80 pages, quoi, donc c'était énorme. Et donc, quand plus tard, il a vu apparemment plusieurs personnes, Danny Boyle, pour des auditions, pour le rôle, et finalement, il était peut-être pas très content. Et donc, il a rappelé James pour faire une audition. Et à ce moment-là, il lui a dit que pour cette audition, qu'il doit faire un très très long monologue, qui est donc un monologue qui apparaît dans ce film, qui est dans un moment de grand désespoir, où il est en train de se remémorer des moments avec sa famille, ses amis, etc. Et justement, quand il a donné le monologue, il lui avait dit donc voilà, prend autant. Et en fait, il avait retenu extrêmement rapidement, dont cette expérience avec donc Jennifer Hospital. Et il était donc très étonné. Et l'audition s'est passée tellement bien que, de façon un peu miroitée pour ceux qui étaient là hier par rapport à James Dean, quand il a terminé l'audition, Danny Boyle lui a donc donné un câlin, lui a dit, bon, vas-y, c'est toi, comme donc dans le film hier, avec le personnage de James Dean après son audition.
And then we met, Danny Boyle and I met with the real guy, Aron Ralston, before we filmed, and talked to him, and he told us everything, you know, that happened. And then he showed us the real video that he had made when he was in the canyon and he thought he would die, which was very powerful, you know, because you're watching somebody that is saying goodbye to the world. Wow, very powerful. And then it was a very unusual film, you know, because it's one character, more or less, in one space. And it wasn't just unusual for me, the actor, you know, when I make films, I'm used to having scenes with other actors, you know. But it was unusual for the director. He's also, you know, used to blocking scenes and designing scenes where there's multiple actors and they're talking to each other or interacting with each other. Now you have one actor in one place. And then also for the cinematographer, how do you make that dynamic? How does it not just become one shot, boring, you know, like what do you do to make it dynamic? Because my experience of watching the film is it feels kind of like an action movie, even though it's, you know, in one spot. So we all had to kind of learn how to make this film together. And so one of the things we figured out was because we did shoot in the real location for a couple weeks, but we shot most of it in a studio, but they took a laser to the real canyon and captured everything with the laser. So the set was absolutely perfect to scale. And Danny also made it, like usually when you shoot on a sound stage, your set, you know, you can move the walls away so you can bring the camera in, you can take the roof off. But Danny said, even though we're going to be shooting on a stage, I don't want anything to be able to be taken away so that it will feel as if we're really in the canyon and we just have to shoot in all the angles that you would shoot in the real canyon. But because we were on the stage, they could use these cameras that were hooked up directly to the hard drive, right? So you could just film forever. You could film for 24 hours, you could film. So that enabled us to do very long takes. Okay, so I think the moment that we figured out the way we were going to do a lot of it was right when I'm trapped and my hand is trapped and the character, you know, I don't understand yet that how trapped I am. So the scene is, you know, do everything you can to, you know, physically try and yank yourself out. You can kick, push, everything you can do, bash yourself to get your hand out. And so Danny said that to me. He said, I'm going to say action, and you do everything possible, and don't stop until I say cut. And so, okay. So he said action. Boom, boom, boom. And then it kept going and going and going. Okay, so when he finally said cut, I think it was, I don't know, 21 minutes or 28 minutes or something like that. Like almost half an hour of boom. So by the end of that, I was exhausted, right? And bruised and everything. But what we realized is now he has, you know, 25 minutes of material that he can use, and it's real. It's me actually getting exhausted, actually, bashing myself. So it became very authentic, and so we realized we could do many scenes this way, and I would do everything that the character that Aron did. He tried to throw his lasso up there. Even the arm scene, like, of course, my arm is still here, but, I think that scene we shot even longer. I think we shot, 45 minutes. And they had such a realistic thing, so I just really did it, and it was so realistic. I hate blood, especially like on my arms. I hate getting the shots, and it was so realistic that I'm looking down, and at a certain point, I'm getting lightheaded, like I think I'm gonna pass out, like just doing that. But anyway, it allowed us allowed me, the way we shot it, allowed me to have a real experience, not faking that I'm tired, but really getting tired, really trying to lasso it, really trying to bash myself out, really cutting the arm, so the behavior has a certain kind of authenticity to it.
Donc très tôt en fait, on a rencontré avec donc Danny Boyle, donc James et Danny Boyle, ont rencontré donc la vraie personne, donc Aron, et donc qui a montré notamment sa vidéo personnelle, donc qu'il avait tournée, qui était un moment extrêmement émotionnel, où justement il est en train donc de se remémorer sa vie et de dire au revoir à sa famille et à ses proches. Et après ça aussi, à savoir donc maintenant pour le tournage a en fait été fait donc dans un studio. Par contre, il y a eu plusieurs précisions. D'abord, c'est très particulier de tourner un film comme ça, parce que la plupart du film, c'est uniquement James dans le film. Donc il faut réfléchir de comment mettre de l'action dans un film qui est entièrement centré, la plupart du temps en tout cas, parce que c'est vrai qu'il y a au début d'autres personnages, sur une personne. Et donc pour faire ça, c'était pas évident aussi pour le réalisateur, parce que déjà le réalisateur il n'est pas habitué à uniquement tourner, donc faire tout un tournage avec une personne, même pour les chefs opérateurs, de comment ils vont trouver le dynamique dans cette scène, etc. Et donc dans un studio, d'habitude il y a comme plusieurs différents cheminements pour pouvoir bouger. On peut ouvrir un peu des murs, on peut se croiser, etc. Alors que là, on avait un espace où tout en fait se construisait comme si c'était vraiment un peu la grotte, quoi. Et il y avait aussi une caméra qui était bien accrochée, et que cette caméra pouvait tourner à peu près pendant 24 heures. Et donc cette caméra a beaucoup aidé pour la situation de la scène. Donc à savoir par exemple au moment où, pour commencer, il essayait de s'abattre pour sortir de cette situation, ou juste cet grand épuisement. Ça a tourné pendant très très longtemps, et c'était environ à peu près peut-être 21 minutes. Et peut-être un peu plus. Et par exemple aussi pour l'autre scène, donc qui est la scène un peu mystique, on va dire, où il doit couper son bras. Ça, c'était pas lui qui était en train de faire une imitation de quelqu'un qui est dans une forme d'épuisement ou de survie, ou etc. Non, c'était vraiment une expérience physiquement déchirante, parce que ça a tourné pour à peu près presque 45 minutes, et à savoir qu'il a un peu une phobie donc, du sang. Donc déjà, je sais pas comment dire, prosthetic, donc le faux bras ou le faux truc qu'ils ont créé, et le sang, etc., qu'il a mis était tellement bien fait que pour une seconde, presque, quand il était en train de regarder, il avait un état de désorientation. Et donc c'est vraiment très très concret pour lui. Et donc c'était pas quelque chose qui limitait, c'était vraiment une expérience physiquement très très douloureuse. Et voilà.
Yeah, another question, or I have just be careful. There's a scene. You'll know the scene. It's a very intense scene, and when we started to premiere the film, in almost every festival we went, Telluride, Toronto, Los Angeles. During that scene, at least one person would. So be careful. If you feel weird, just go strong. If anyone, you can do a couple questions.
On va laisser quand même prendre quelques questions avant que vous regardez le film. Je vais peut-être prendre 3-4 quoi maximum. Si quelqu'un veut commencer. Ouais.
Je vais le dire en français, ce sera plus simple.
Ouais.
J'ai beaucoup aimé le film Zéroville qui n'a pas été distribué en France et je me posais la question de s'il a envie de refaire des films aussi barrés qui mélangent les genres comme ça.
He really liked the film Zeroville, and he was wondering why Jean was not distributed in France and how about these films that like mixed genres.
Say it again.
Sorry, he was.
Yeah, no, just the last part. In mixed genres.
He was really impressed with how they did the
Zeroville was based on a book, Zeroville, by Steve Erickson. I loved this book. In fact, the person that introduced me to the book was Noah Baumbach's father. His father was my professor in New York. And I read this book in class, and I was like, oh, I love this book. Yeah, it's about American films in the 1970s. It was tough because the distribution was tough because we sold it many times and something kept happening. Like we sold it, I think, to a French company, and then the French company went bankrupt. So then, so then we kept. So by the time it came out, I think I had very little control over it, but it's an interesting movie, very strange movie, and I come to Paris a lot, and so we talked about, there's other movies that people have asked for. I did Child of God, based on a Cormac McCarthy book, and that film, and I don't know, some of the comedies maybe. So maybe we'll come back and we can show Zeroville.
Donc en fait, par rapport à Zeroville, c'est donc adapté d'un roman. Et ce roman, il lui a été confié par son professeur. Et son professeur, c'était le père du réalisateur Noah Baumbach. Je ne sais pas prononcer son nom. Et justement, en fait, il y avait une question de distribution en France. Mais avec cette compagnie, elle est partie assez rapidement. Ils ont mis les clés sur la porte. Pardon ?
Banqueroute.
Oui. D'accord. Et donc, ça n'a malheureusement pas pu marcher parce qu'au cours des années, quand après il a tenté de faire la distribution, il n'avait plus les accords ou bien qu'il voulait, ou bien la main sûre. Et en fait, il a fait beaucoup d'autres films qui sont aussi adaptés donc, de romans, parce que c'est quelque chose qui lui passionne beaucoup, donc à savoir, par exemple, Child of God, qui aurait dû être montré ici, mais malheureusement, à cause d'un truc de distribution avec la France, je n'ai pas pu trouver des sous-titres en français. Mais on ne sait jamais que peut-être il va pouvoir revenir ici au futur proche, parce qu'il vient souvent à Paris, et peut-être qu'on pourrait le remontrer dans des conditions meilleures. Voilà.
One or two?
Oui, je t'ai vu.
I watched The Disaster Artist on Saturday, and I was curious about what did make you want to make a movie about apparently the worst movie ever made, and what message did you want to deliver with this movie? And also, I'm curious, did you meet the Tommy Wiseau?
Of course. Let's see. Well, I can talk about this film for hours and hours, but the writer Vladimir Nabokov, he talks about when you read something and it touches you, it's like you feel the hair on the back of your neck go up, and you know that that's something special there, right? So that book came out. There's a book, The Disaster Artist, written by the other guy in the film that my brother plays in it, Greg. So when he published that book, somebody saw the review of it in the New York Times, and they knew that I love books about Hollywood. So they said, I think you should read this book. So I went out, I got it immediately, started to read it, and I had that experience, like the hair on the back of my neck. Wow. Why? Because the book was so moving. Like, Tommy, the real guy, Tommy, he is now playing a character, right? He tries to be funny. Like, if he ever comes to Paris and screens it, you'll see he's like, being a funny guy. But he will never tell you, he will never be vulnerable with you. Never tell you how heartbreaking it was to make that movie in the beginning, how hard it was, how he felt betrayed by the world. He will never say this, right? But that book did. Greg knew Tommy better than anybody. So Greg could tell the story for Tommy. And what I saw was a portrait of almost every director, of almost every artist, right? That we have dreams, we have a need to create, and also a need to connect to other people. And so in that way, the story is like every Hollywood story. It's a dream. It's like La La Land, you know what I mean? It's like, come to Hollywood, you have a dream, and you pursue the dream. The only difference is that Tommy Wiseau cannot see himself clearly. He thinks that he looks like James Dean, and he looks like, vampire, right? So it was a way to tell a classic story with this very crazy surface, very funny surface level. It was almost like a Hollywood story, but flipped upside down. And I love that, right? I don't want to just tell, the same old story. Like, I want to tell this beautiful story, but in a new way, And I could see, I just had a feeling. I don't think anybody, when The Room came out, I don't think anybody thought, of course, James Franco should play this role. But I read it and I thought, I don't know why, but I was like, I think I can do this guy, and I think my brother should play Greg because of the dynamic I have with my brother, and I just felt like we could do it. So, yeah, I really tried. I have one more part of the answer.
Donc, pour commencer, il était en train de dire que l'écrivain Vladimir Nabokov disait que quand un livre nous saisit des pieds à la tête, on sent qu'il y a les cheveux dans le cou qui remontent. Et justement, c'est ce qu'il a senti donc, quand il a lu ce livre. Et donc, ce livre était sorti, il y avait un review du New York Times, et qu'apparemment, quelqu'un lui avait recommandé comme quoi, sachant que James aimait beaucoup les livres sur Hollywood, qu'il allait beaucoup aimer ce livre. Et ce livre était donc appelé du même titre de Disaster Artist, mais c'était écrit par donc le collaborateur et l'ami très proche de Tommy Wiseau, Greg, qui est donc joué par son frère dans le film. Et qui était en train de raconter donc cette expérience de tournage et de cette rencontre, etc. À savoir que le personnage lui-même, donc de Tommy Wiseau, quand il présente son film n'importe où dans le monde, il a toujours une attitude extrêmement flamboyante, voire comique. Il ne se tient pas du tout d'une façon vulnérable et il a toujours en fait un air extrêmement ricanant. Mais justement, il ne va jamais se montrer vulnérable comme on voit dans ce livre. Et la personne qui le connaissait le mieux, c'était Greg, et donc qui a pu justement dans ses écrits montrer ça. Et il trouvait, James, que c'était très intéressant de mettre cette histoire en place parce que ça parlait en fait d'un truc extrêmement universel, à savoir de rêver et de partir à Hollywood, d'avoir un énorme succès, parce que c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement répandu. Et donc il s'était dit qu'il avait envie de faire ça aussi, sachant qu'il avait une très bonne dynamique avec son frère, que ça pourrait être bien de lui, il joue donc Tommy Wiseau, et son frère donc joue le personnage de Craig, la personne plus proche à lui. Et en fait, c'est vrai que ça parle quoi? Ça parle donc du fond de Hollywood comme si c'était La La Land, mais ça parle de façon assez unique parce que c'est cette histoire classique mais qui est retournée d'une différente facette. Et donc de montrer ce côté extrêmement comique mais de façon très très vulnérable et intimiste et particulière. Et c'est ça qui l'avait vraiment passionné donc, du projet.
I can't remember what did I talk about last time with Disaster Artist. Let me
You
show.
mean the other story?
When I was here months ago.
So you talked about many things. First, for example, you showed the audios of
Oh, the audio.
Yeah. Tommy Wiseau, like explaining to you. You were saying that he said that maybe one day he wanted to direct you.
Okay, so I won't tell this story again. Anyway, to finish the answer to the question, what do I? To me, I think it's such for me, it's such an important portrait of being an artist, right? Like, I was talking about it a little bit yesterday. Like, for me to grow as an artist, I want to communicate. You know, when I make a movie, I do want to connect to people. I do want to have people have an experience, you know, emotional, maybe intellectual, but go on a journey. And so in order to learn how to do that, you need people to watch your stuff, and then you need to learn how to listen. You can't listen to everybody, you know. Some people don't like your movies, and maybe it would be harmful to listen to them because if you make horror movies and they hate horror movies, you don't listen. That's not your audience. So you have to learn who to listen to. And Tommy is somebody that I respect him because the world told him no, 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 no. So he said, fine, I will do it myself. That's incredible, you know. A lot of people never do that. So it's incredible he did that. But once he did that, he couldn't listen to anybody's advice. Hey, maybe, you know, don't shoot in the parking lot. You know, maybe, you know, don't cast yourself as an all-American guy. You know, like many things that he didn't listen to. The problem was that even though it didn't turn into a Tennessee Williams level drama like he wanted it, over time it became a cult hit. And so he didn't get to learn the lesson of, oh, if I make another film, maybe I can cast myself better. Maybe, you know, don't have such a bad set. Maybe have somebody help me write the script. You know, he never learned these lessons because it became a cult hit. So instead, he just kind of did this little thing in his head and told himself, well, of course, I intend to make comedy, you know. But he didn't, you know, but he tricks himself. So now he can never make another movie as good as The Room, which I love The Room. I can watch again and again and again. He will never be able to make another Room because when he made The Room, he put his heart into it. But now, because everybody laughs at The Room, he tries to be funny. And when he is trying to be funny, there's no soul, there's no heart. You know, it's just weird. So, so anyway, it's for me, it's we call it in school we call it like an ars poetica, like a portrait of making art. That for me is what the disaster artist is.
Okay, thank you.
J'aurais plus de la place que pour une dernière question. Hein. Je suis désolée. Sauf si je prends deux, mais je ne pourrais pas traduire parce que je dois...
C'est très bon.
je traduis pas et je prends deux. Genre, est-ce que vous, ça vous va que je traduis pas? Ok. Donc, je prends une.
Usually, when you read a script, what makes you want to make the film?
Well, as an actor or as a director?
Yes,
as an actor. What makes me want to do projects? Well, I heard, one of my heroes, I got Sean Penn, I heard him say it in a good way that makes sense, which is you're listening to the music, okay? So there's lots of different aspects that you're listening to. You're listening to the script as a whole. You're looking at your part, and does it fit me? You're looking at who will be in it with you as actors. You're looking at the director. Does the director match with this project? And you're thinking, is this a story that I want to help tell? All these things. So just kind of thinking about all of that. And can I do a good job in this part? Yeah. Thank you.
Une dernière question. Je me sens trop mal.
You go.
Je t'ai vu en premier, donc c'est juste qui j'ai vu en premier. Pardon.
Did the film school help you to understand the real cinema industry, or it was especially your experience as an actor who helped you to understand?
Sorry, what's the last part? My experience as an actor?
Show you the real industry.
I see. Yeah, I was talking a little bit about it last night. I like both. I've done both. I'm a professional, but I also went to school for filmmaking and for acting. I think from school, school is maybe not good, I don't know. But for me, it was good. I needed a place as an actor where I could just practice and practice and practice and practice. And it was a safe place. When you start to work professionally, now you're being paid. Now you better be good, or you won't maybe get so many chances. But in acting school, it should be a place where you try everything. You are, I believe, like a classical musician, right? How often do they practice? Hours, 8 hours every day, I think, to be a classical musician. That's what I tried to do when I was in acting school. All day, just practice. For years I did. And you want it to feel like, I believe, like second nature, like an athlete, right? An athlete, you might have natural talent, but you're never gonna just, I don't do practice, I just show up for the game, Like, no, you need to train. So that's how I tried to think about the acting. But, all that being said, when you do all the practice, it's so that when you're on set, you can be relaxed. I don't want to be all in my head or tense or, treating it like it's acting class. That's a different mode. When I'm on set, now I'm trying to relax so that I can not think so much. I can just be present as an actor and be grounded, be realistic in the imaginary circumstance. And then as a director, kind of the same thing. For film school, for me, it was also very nice. Film school is very nice because you're around all these other directors and you're all helping each other. So you make really good connections and people that you can collaborate with when you start to make your movies. That was also very important for me, to get a filmmaking gang, and you all support each other. It's very nice to have support when you go out and you make movies and shows and whatever, videos. It's nice to have a group because you can all support each other. I'm gonna watch a bit, and maybe we'll come back. I'm here 2-3 times a year, so maybe we'll come back. We show 1 or 2 movies, and I see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.